Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of Slated Double Features podcast with your hosts Joshua Francisco Mitchell and the lovely Matthew Vivian. Hello Matt.
Hello. Can I just say before we start, when you first said to me, let's do a podcast, I was a bit like, I don't really want to, but I like to talk about films. And now I'm having an absolutely great time. And I'm really looking forward to this episode because I feel like we've got lots to talk about. But yeah, so thank you for coming up with the idea of doing this. I'm having a great time with it.
No, thank you very much for doing it, genuinely. I know we spoke about it when we first kind of came up with the idea, but we were like, we need to get exposure somehow because we don't have any money.
No, that's
so
true.
We can't make loads of films. We can't make films with high production value. We can't pay for films to go to hundreds of festivals. However, if we get people listening on here, then hopefully people will start watching our films, which is really the end goal.
And it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, right now we don't have a great deal of viewers, but
thank you to the 15 people who are listening. And we very much appreciate every single one of you.
So what sort of filmmaking things have you been up to this week?
I've been non-stop. I haven't really, that's a joke.
Yeah.
I spent an evening setting up the frame for our new review video on YouTube. So we thought it'd be really nice to... Thank you very much.
I think it looked lovely.
So as well as releasing the podcast, we thought we'd kind of repackage our more recent review. So if you're more interested in that, you can just go and watch that on YouTube. Lovely Caitlin Moriarty helped me set up a scene and we lit it. I wanted it to look kind of cozy and a bit artsy. So I set up all the shit I could find in my room.
What's the little figure of next to it?
Oh, that's an Ultron.
It's like Ultron. I thought it was Ultron.
That's an Ultron. And in the front, there is a Lego DeLorean you can just see.
Oh, I didn't notice it, but I've seen it in your room in real life.
Yeah, so that's there. And we've got a couple of Star Wars tapes. Put that in there.
Yeah.
An A24 candle, which I got for Christmas. That's also in the background. Thank you.
Not even the candle from Talk to Me, just a generic studio candle.
It's an A24 science fiction smelling candle.
What does that smell like?
Well, you'd have to come and smell it, wouldn't you?
Smells like Flash Gordon's sweat.
So yeah, our first one of those for The Killer last week. Lovely review of The Killer. That's available to watch. So if you want to go and see what that looks like, let us know. If you like the visualizer, that was me. If you didn't like it, it was Matt.
No. I should probably say I was going to watch all The Killer before we did this so I could give a little review at the start.
Oh, here we go.
I've only seen the first half of it.
Here we go. One of those.
But I can do a little bit of review of the first half. And to be honest, most things I said when I was lying are true. It's not really my cup of tea. I found it quite boring, to be honest. My biggest thing is it would have been 1,000 times better if they just got rid of every single piece of narration. Like, he never says anything worth saying. He just talks constant. There's pages and pages and pages of dialogue, and he says nothing worth saying. The only bits that I found interesting was like him talking about like, oh, I go to Mackey's because you can get enough calories for like €1, and you don't really get spotted there. And I base my look off a German tour. It's like that stuff was the only bit where it's slightly interesting, but you could do it all as like just show. And I think if we just saw in like silence him like setting up his stuff and him going around Paris, and then he shot someone, and then the first thing he says is like shit when he misses, or when he's on the phone in the airport, like that would have been so much better. There would have been a really great scene if it was just all silent.
Big time.
But
especially after watching Les Samurai, where that is almost beat for beat what happens.
Yeah.
It'd be a much different film.
Yeah, no, because he mentioned like that he's just talking about all the different ways he's killed people in the past and how he likes to mix things up a bit. But then when he was doing this one, it was just with a sniper. So it's like, well, they know. I don't know. It wasn't a very good way of assassinating someone, I don't think.
And he missed.
I would have got that personally.
100%. My BPM's always below 60.
Yeah.
I went to the doctors about it, but they can't help me, unfortunately.
Joshua, you need to get this up. You need to bump these numbers up a little bit.
Something that I know people have been tuning in for.
Oh my God.
There has been a thrilling conclusion to.
It has been.
I don't know this. I'm very excited to hear it myself.
Oh yeah, well it's the most interesting story ever. So, just to recap, as you'll know, when I did Barbenheimer, the cinema car park tried to fine me £100 because I parked there for over 5 hours, even though I just watched 2 films back to back, and that's a pretty normal thing to do when you go to a cinema. Anyway, I appealed it. I said, this is ridiculous. I was doing Barbenheimer, like, grow up. Didn't reply.
Grow up.
And then they came back to me months later and said, you have to pay £140 now because you're not paying us. So I contacted the cinema themselves. I don't know if I've said that before. Anyway, I contacted the cinema themselves, and then the guy, Shane, his name was, lovely man, he went, no, that is ridiculous, to be honest. That is absolutely ridiculous. I'll get that cancelled. And so he spoke to him, and he sent me the email chain, and then, wouldn't you know it, the people who run the car park, like the government or some shit, I don't know, because it was like a proper like legal
Don't
letter.
get me started on the government.
Don't
Sorry to get political, everyone.
Yeah,
don't get me started on the government.
This is simply a film podcast. Yeah. Anyway, they said, all right, fine, we'll cancel it. But it takes a lot of effort to go through all the next stages, so he still has to pay 20 quid.
What?
My mum was saying, like, I just paid 20 quid, don't take it any further. And my dad went, say you'll take them to court. Say you'll take them to court. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. That's a little bit too far. But I just said to Shane, well, thank you for everything you can, but I still don't think I need to pay 20 quid. And he went like, I'll give you 2 free tickets next time you come to the cinema. So I went to see The Marvels, thanks to Shane's tickets.
You went to see it twice, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I did, yeah. I saw it back to back. I finished it and I was like, I just need more goose in my life. And so I had to watch it again.
So would you like to clear the name of the cinema that you previously slagged off?
Oh, yes. What's it called? Birmingham Great Park Cinema in Rubery, Birmingham. You're amazing. You did a great job. Shane's great. Thank you for everything. People who run the car park can fuck off. But the cinema itself, great cinema.
Shane, if you're looking to sponsor a podcast, if you want us to be the official podcast of Rubery Birmingham Cinema, please get in touch because we'd love to support you.
And they
we
do
take
milkshakes.
back everything we said.
The best story on earth has now ended.
Wow. Well, thank you for tuning in. We've peaked as a podcast on episode 5. It's concluded. You don't have to listen anymore.
No, they won't bother.
We understand the viewer retention like dropping off now, nosediving completely. But thanks very much for tuning in.
It's okay. Thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone, and we'll see you on the next one. On to our weekly roundup. Yeehaw! What have you seen this week?
I have watched The Fall of the House of Usher. Have you seen The Fall of the House of Usher?
I haven't, but you mentioned it last week. Is it good?
Oh, did I? Oh, because I was probably halfway through watching it.
Yeah, because you were watching not the Hill House, the Midnight Mass. Yeah.
The Fall of the House of Usher. So, I love Mike Flanagan miniseries. I'm currently on Haunting of Hill House. I'm on episode 9 of 10.
If you love him so much, why don't you go marry him?
Because he's already married to Kate Siegel, and she's a great lady, great actress, and I wouldn't disrespect their marriage like that. So I was invested, I was always keeping, I wanted to know what happened next, but they just immediately say in the first scene, like, all of Roderick Usher's children have just died. Each episode is like them dying, but it's like, well, I know they're going to die.
I saw people raving about it.
I don't really know why. Like, it's well made, and there's like bits that I really liked, and overall, like, I was invested, but it was like... But there's like a twist in the finale, and the finale's the best episode.
So just watch that one.
But just watch that one. So yeah, it's fine. But it's
and
not
this is all
best.
about the family of the famous pop star, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wow. I know there's a lot of biopics happening at the minute, like the David Beckham one, the Sylvester Stallone one. So it's really bold for Usher to take his in a bold
just
new
do
direction.
about all his kids are dead. Next, I watched My Neighbour Totoro. That's a little bit of a different change of pace. It was good. I liked it. Yeah. No story.
Let's talk more about that because I know
the vibes were good.
There are. So you like the vibes from Totoro?
I like the vibes.
What do you think about that very non-Western method of storytelling? So it's a very unusual film to sit through for the first time.
Yeah, I've noticed that with like Asian cinema that they're more focused on characters than they are about plot, whereas I think plot and structure is like such a Western thing. I don't know, I really liked it because I think I kind of knew that was what it was going into it, so it wasn't like a surprise. I didn't have to like adjust it.
Whereas something like my favourite one, Princess Mononoke, is a lot more narrative focused.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will watch more. I'll watch that one, like Howl's Moving Castle's a famous one.
Castle in the Sky is very good. And I know from last episode we did have a couple of comments talking about your hatred for animation and that you should watch a cartoon to kind of repent. But you've already done it. You've already done it.
Did it?
Well done. I'm sure we're all proud.
Like, I don't know if people get, everyone.
And you're not slagging it off?
I'm not slagging it off.
Just great.
I will say though, everyone on Letterboxd is giving it like 5 stars, and it's like, oh, calm down. Like, it wasn't that. I don't know what film you've been watching. It wasn't a 5-star film. It was a nice, sweet film that I've barely thought about since.
Wow, that's bold.
But I liked it.
Oh, good. Glad you enjoyed that.
Yes, I did. I got one more thing, and that was what I watched. So last night, I watched it because it was my sister's birthday, and so
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And so we were all like playing board games and shit all day because she made us. And then I was like, right, well, for my podcast, I have to watch Flash Gordon. So we watched Flash Gordon as a family. And then my sister was like, this is shit. We have to watch The Princess Bride now because it's my birthday.
Yeah.
So we watched The Princess Bride. Great film. Everyone likes it. My mum didn't like it, though. Well, she thought it was all right, but she didn't love it.
Too woke.
Yeah, it's too woke. But I liked it. There's nothing to talk about Princess Bride. We've all seen it. And we all agree it's great.
And it has the detective from Child's Play in it.
It does, yeah, Chris Sarandon. I thought he was I thought he was Prince Humperdinck.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
What have you been watching?
I've only seen 2 things.
Okay.
I watched Elemental.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't think it was bad.
Fine.
It was, yeah.
It's fine.
Do you think it's a legitimate thing that we think Monsters Inc. and that is amazing because we grew up with it, whereas Elemental is because we didn't grow up with it? Because I personally think I, as a kid, wouldn't have cared for it.
No, I would agree. I think it's very clever. They've clearly sat down and thought out what would a waterman do, and they've just listed all the things a waterman would do, and then they've done.
They do every single thing the elements could do.
Like literally, there's nothing I could think of. Oh, I wish Waterman did that because he did it.
Yeah,
which is very clever. But it falls into the same category as Zootopia in that they're trying to do like a race commentary.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense because in Zootopia it's the prey are frightened of predators.
Yeah.
Justly, because predators eat prey historically.
Yeah.
So that analogy of race falls flat. And then Elemental, the fire people hate the water people.
But they genuinely
historically, because you can die.
Yeah.
You can literally die from water.
Yeah.
It's not one to one.
But then they just started like hugging and touching in the film, I guess, because they realised it would be difficult to do a romance otherwise. But they'd have to just, I mean, they should have probably ended with them being romantic, but they can never touch, and that would like being like a tragic thing. So I think you're completely right that I think there's some really good commentary on like being like a child of an immigrant sort of thing. They do that a lot.
Yeah,
with,
definitely.
Water, the fire, but it doesn't really work.
So after watching that, we watched Monsters Inc.
Banger.
And oh boy, what a film Monsters Inc. is. From the opening theme to the end, it's just straight through.
It is good.
But I was sad to see they removed the bloopers from the end, I would like to say. On Disney Plus. Don't know. Watching that and then watching Elemental, I think it's like a more general theme of Pixar films that they just don't have villains. You don't have villains in Disney films anymore.
No.
You watch Monsters Inc. and you know it's Randall is the main villain, and then you kind of get that reveal that Waternoose has also been on it. In Elemental, and like you think of what other Pixar films have come out in the last 10 years. It's all about oppressive family. It's all about oppressive culture. Coco. It's all about families. That the villain is a restrictive family.
Yeah.
So you don't have a black and white villain anymore.
Turning red.
And Monsters Inc. It isn't about an analogy for anything. It's like a father-daughter story.
Because now I think they're trying to be like social commentary first and like sort of film first. Like, having that art to it, and they prioritize that more than entertaining children, I think. Kind of
exactly right.
And you do definitely have themes in the older ones, like Toy Story is such a relatable like tale, but the older ones, like, they were still really fun movies for kids. I think our review of Monsters Inc. has been longer than our review of the Marvels for me. The Monsters Inc.
5 stars.
5 stars. I think that's fine. I would agree with that.
But from one monster to another, Brie Larson is ruining cinema.
Oh, I know, because she's just too woke. I actually don't know what Brie Larson did, because when I was like a teenager or something, and I was sort of like, I'd watch Ben Shapiro and be like, oh yeah, he's got a good point right there. Looking back and cringing. Like, I seem to remember all that she really did was, there was the people saying her co-stars didn't like her because of some stupid body language nonsense, and also there's because what was a film like Wrinkle in Time or something? I think she said to people like, well, I'm sorry you didn't like it, but it wasn't really made for you, and they were furious about the idea.
Yeah, it wasn't made for adult men.
It wasn't made for adult men. Yeah, it's like the new Snow White, how like they're so furious about it. And before, all these middle-aged white men were furious about The Little Mermaid, and it's like, mate, you're not going to watch the film. Like, who cares?
Yeah. We have to watch it.
We have to watch it.
It's our job. It's our unpaid job.
I know.
But you don't have to.
Like the fact that they've gone so far with they're making their own Snow White, the Daily Wire, just so they can have a white Snow White. And it's like, do you not think maybe you should just get a life?
It doesn't matter. Go and watch the original one. It's still there.
Yeah.
So this week we are watching 2023's The Marvels.
We are.
So this is the 33rd MCU film, if you can believe it.
I can believe it, actually.
So this is directed by Nia DaCosta, who's the first black woman to direct a Marvel film, which is
woke.
Bloody hell, that's taken a long time. Known for Little Woods, which was a breakup film, and has also done the new Candyman.
Candyman remake, yeah, which I heard was very good.
Yeah, I haven't seen either, but
I've heard people say that both the original and the remake are like equally good, so that's nice.
The DOP was Sean Bobbitt, who did 12 Years a Slave, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Place Beyond the Pines, and most notably, it just keeps cropping up like a bad smell, The New Old Boy.
Oh wow, that is a very strange thing to go from there to the Marvels, but
yeah. What was the plot?
Captain Marvel from Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel from Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau from WandaVision.
Her character name is WandaVision, isn't it?
Her character, yeah, she's called WandaVision. Yeah. So they all have light-based powers, which I noticed they changed the line from the trailer where Monica's listing their powers. And it's like, you can use light, you can create light, and I can see light. And everyone in the comments was like, everyone can see light. They changed that to like, she's talking about like all the different wavelengths and that. But they all have light-based powers, and when they use their powers, they suddenly start switching places. And so Kamala Khan's in space, and Brie Larson, Captain Marvel's in Kamala Khan's bedroom, and it's like, what? Why is this happening? Meanwhile, Conan the Barbarian. Ronan the Accuser.
No, it's not Ronan.
But it's not Ronan the Accuser.
Ronan's dead.
Ronan the Accuser, with a name crossed out and a different name written in, comes across a bangle on like this moon-looking place. Oh, I thought there was meant to be two. Where's the other one? And Kamala Khan is just wearing it in her bedroom. She's trying to get the bangle off Miss Marvel because I think they're powerful, and I can't remember what her plan is. Oh, her plan is to strip all the resources from the planets that Captain Marvel likes to restore her home world, which Captain Marvel destroyed. It just sort of goes on from there.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, actually. I thought it would be a bit shit, and but I was invested throughout because I think it is, and I hope it's not controversial to say, the only well-paced Marvel movie. It's the perfect length for a comic book movie.
100%.
It immediately started. There's no build-up. Like it just gets straight into the action. It feels like a comic book. I think it feels like comic books do. They don't have any like faffing around. You don't have like scenes of the character go about the day-to-day life. There might be like one panel of their day-to-day life, and then Green Goblin shows up and they have to go and stuff him. Like it just gets straight into it.
I mean, this is the shortest MCU film. 1 hour 45.
1 hour 45.
Surpassing The Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark World, both at 1 hour 52.
Yeah, and it just basically goes from like set piece to set piece. There's very little sort of sitting around talking about stuff. And when there is, like, I think it's all pretty good. Like on the ship, when I loved the like training montage where they're learning to switch powers. And I just thought,
that's like, great. That's great. Lovely little character moments.
My criticism of the first movie is that it's too woke, but regardless of that, it's that it was just bloody boring. You know, everyone was talking about like Captain Marvel, like.
But she has something to do. She has personal stakes in it.
But she has
personal stakes with Tiona Paris's photon.
They never call her a photon in the movie. I thought they would do.
They don't. They're trying to figure out a name for her. But
yeah, I thought that would end with her coming up with a name. But I was like watching that whole bit, like, but I know the name, but they choose this photon, and it's shit.
Like the end of Famp Four Stick when they look at each other and go, "I know what we should be called." The
Famp Four Stick.
But yeah, they were very good. It's the first time they've seen each other since Photon was a little baby in Captain Marvel. Iman Vellani is just there.
Carries the movie, in my opinion.
She's just there.
She's not just there. Yeah, but she is like literally the lead of the movie, I feel like. I think she absolutely carries it.
Okay,
I think Iman Vellani's great.
Okay.
Have you seen Iman Vellani's letterboxd review of Captain Marvel? Like before she was cast, and she's given it 2 stars. and she just basically said like that she likes Brie Larson, but the movie's not very good. And then she was cast as Captain Marvel's biggest fan.
Zoe Ashton as Darben, who is our Ronan the Accuser. So she's from Nocturnal Animals and Velvet Buzzsaw.
I've seen her in loads of stuff. She's always cropping up.
Yeah, one of those faces that you can't really.
She did a Doctor Who.
Name her.
She does everything. Yeah.
She did a Doctor Who. Did Sherlock.
Yeah.
She has done a lot. And Samuel L. Jackson. This is his 15th MCU project, following the smash hit of Secret Invasion. I thought he was so wasted in this. He's just there for comedic relief.
Yeah.
If you think about his Nick Fury throughout the MCU, I guess he's just like a doomsday planner.
Yeah.
And so everything should be prepared for this. He should be the one giving the information, but that leads into a bigger MCU issue that I know a lot of people have been talking about, that it just feels very directionless.
Well, it's
at the minute.
They had to set Captain Marvel in the 90s just so Nick Fury had something to do back when he was actually important.
And like you said, it's story to story feeling now.
Yeah, that's why I'm really losing interest. Because it used to be like each phase was like a series of TV, almost like
and that's what was exciting about it.
You know, it's building towards an Avengers movie. Like they set up like Thanos, they set it up, and like the first Avengers, like it's very much leading towards it. The team is assembling, and now it's just a million origin stories really, and sequels to things where like the characters peaked because they've saved half of all life in the universe.
I know, and even the behind the scenes issues that they've been having with the TV shows.
Yeah,
have you seen that? They've just been throwing money at them. Yeah, that these TV shows haven't been running with a showrunner. What? That's like basic TV.
Well, I did like a talk thing, like a sort of interview, I guess, at like at my old uni, a bunch of like former graduates last week before, something like that, and I was speaking to a assistant location manager who's worked on like latest Mission Impossible stuff like that. He's done some big stuff, and like he worked on Secret Invasion, and he said like normally in locations department he's used to, if you have to like bribe people to get them to go away, like you could do it, but you do a small amount of money, like whatever. And he's like like Secret Invasion, they're like that like company's annoying in the back, they're being noisy or something, or people are coming in and out of their shop. Oh, just go and give them 10 grand and shut them up. Like he said, like it's just they just have as much money as they want, and his boss, I can't remember what job it was, but just said basically like we don't have time, but we have money, or something like that. And he's like he said they just any amount of money they can just throw out.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like I saw some of the news about the new Daredevil TV show, which since everyone has been fired from the director,
because no one wanted it. I know
no one wanted
the original writer
and it was written
like, how it was. Yeah, they changed the name just so it was officially a different show, so they didn't have any obligations to keep anyone. And
it was written as a law procedural with Daredevil only showing up in the last episode.
I heard that, yeah.
And you're like, but it's the same, quote unquote, the same character from the Netflix one. So just do Daredevil. So that's something that they didn't want to do. So they've all been binned, and that's.
It would just be
I think that's the first show that they're having to bring in a showrunner to keep an eye on everything, to make sure it's running with a coherent vision and is in keeping with what the world at large is supposed to be doing. Something that with all these TV shows, something releasing every couple of days is clearly spread everyone too thin to think about.
I mean, I think Daredevil Born Again is like the only one that is impossible to fuck up, because they already had the other show and it was so popular. You just do that again.
Oh yeah,
you literally just do what they did before.
Just do Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah,
but yeah, the Marvels. It was fun.
It was.
Go
fun.
And see it. I know it's not doing very well, but.
No. Why do you think it's not doing very well?
Because people don't like Brie Larson.
Yeah, I think so.
She's been talking about not wanting to do Captain Marvel anymore.
Because people
just the hate she's been getting, that it's just disgusting.
I mean, I think the character is like one of the least interesting Avengers, because I mean, it is true that she is just really powerful and it kind of came from nowhere and it feels a bit unearned. But I thought she's fine. She's always done a good job of it. And anyway, this film was just fun. Like, I think they kind of did the best thing they could with the, if they have to make Captain Marvel 2, because everything these days has to be a part of a trilogy, like you can't just make one film. I think they did a good job. They just made like a short, fun, it's just a fun movie. They played it so safe, but I just love like silly sci-fi that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Well, I think that leads us into our spoilers, I think.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in spoilers.
It was nice that it gave Captain Marvel like a chance to be a bit more of a flawed character. How like she thought she was doing the right thing in the past and ended up
exactly right. Yeah. So the big Captain Marvel conflict in this story is because at the end of the last film, she destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, which is the AI that ran the Kree world, hoping to kind of stop this Kree empire, but it ended up making the Kree society collapse because of civil wars and people trying to get power. So our new villain, Dar-Ben, who is the new accuser, following on from Ronan after he died, she is going from planet to planet, everything that is related to Captain Marvel, stealing resources. So whether that's air from a Skrull refugee planet or water from her prince boyfriend husband's planet.
I thought when they're saying like we need water, I thought they'd be like, well, what planet do you know that's covered in loads of water? And then she'd be like, the Earth. But it wasn't Earth, it was just some music planet.
Bro, as soon as she said, as soon as Dar-Ben said our sun's gone out, I was like, well, just phone Captain Marvel and say, would you mind coming in and relighting the sun, please?
Yeah.
And then that's problem solved. You've solved the big issue there.
Yeah, but she is their enemy.
Oh yeah, you're right. She is a villain and can't be kind.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of surprises in this, like Tessa Thompson showing up as Valkyrie.
Well, unfortunately, I saw a photo of that before I watched the film, so that wasn't a surprise for me. But that was nice to see. I like Tessa Thompson.
She showed up to take away Skrulls who wouldn't fit in the story. Yeah. So they were just like, get rid of them.
Get rid of them. How big was that planet? Because there was like 20 of them. There weren't very many.
Yeah, I know.
It was like just a small little town. And the leader was played by the dad from Billy Elliot, and so that was nice to see him.
Great.
It's a great film.
But yeah, I thought all the cast were very good. I thought Brie Larson handled there's a lot of ups and downs for her. I know this is kind of the first actual conflict she has had past the first film. I know it's still very closely related, but she is having to deal with the guilt that links into her relationship with Photon and why she hasn't gone back to the planet because she feels like she isn't a good enough hero. And
I think
called the Annihilator.
I mean, I think she's basically like the MCU's like Superman. So it's like you know that she's so powerful that you know that she's powerful enough to save the day. Never have any doubt about that. But it's like the conflict comes from her character, from her interaction with other people, and from her emotions. And so I think it worked. And I think also putting her in a team with the other two worked well because they're not as powerful, especially like Kamala. Well, they're both really new to their powers, and Kamala's young, and so you have that sort of like, oh, maybe they can't. I mean, obviously they're going to, but you're like, you know, they've still got the stakes of like the villain's more powerful than them, sort of thing. Yeah. Whereas I think Captain Marvel, you never have any doubt that she could absolutely kick Roland's ass.
I was like, just cut her arm off and just take it. Yeah. Like you literally can.
I didn't get that hammer thing that was the villain's weapon. It's still like glowing purple from the Power Stone. I didn't get that because the Power Stone's been destroyed. Like
it must have just been powerful before, but not as powerful.
I think it's meant to be that the purple is like from the Power Stone, but I feel like that's not kind of defeats the point of destroying the Infinity Stones if you can still kind of use them. But I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. This movie isn't like, they know it's not one of the like benchmark MCU films. They know it's just this is this month's release, and it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of entertainment. It's like what Hawkeye was. Like it knows it's a smaller one, and Hawkeye was one of my absolute favourites because it's just wholesome fun at Christmas.
Talking about Hawkeye, we get a little Kate Bishop at the end.
We do, which was nice to see. Yeah, setting up Young Avengers. Because she mentions, like, I think Ant-Man's got a daughter as well.
Ant-Man's daughter.
Presumably America Chavez would show up in it.
So that's exciting for what it's worth. We haven't got any Avengers films coming up, other than the maybe Jonathan Majors one that he may be fired from.
Like we were saying, like how it feels like nothing's going towards anything. Like, we know that there are more Avengers films coming, but they're such a long way away. Like, they're at the end of Phase 6. There's so many stuff before then. And what I've been saying since Endgame is, like, great. X-Men and Fantastic Four are two of the biggest things they could possibly do. Do them straight away. No one believes you can carry it on after Endgame. don't faff around introducing Shang-Chi and shit.
Yeah.
Just do X-Men straight away.
That leads us very well into the post-credits for this, which features Kelsey Grammer as Frasier.
Yeah.
He turns up.
He does. He's like, so I've got a revival of my new show. It's on Peacock.
Gets Photon to join it.
Yeah.
So tune into the next episode of Frasier and she will be there.
That was really cool. That's the problem, is that now the part of the film which we all look forward to is like the post-credit scene, which is setting up another film. And it's like, well, can we just entertain the current thing? It's so...
But the Beast is there. Beast is there.
Beast is cool.
Looks like Beast.
He looked good.
Kelsey Grammer's clearly said, I'm not doing makeup anymore.
Yeah.
I'll do voice. That's it.
He looked good, though.
He looks really good. Looked very good.
Yeah. And it seems the music was like from the 2000 like films, the Fox films, and it was like the door in the background looked like it was from that. So it does seem to imply it's the same universe.
We know it's definitely not the one Doctor Strange goes to in Multiverse of Madness, because he says, he says about going to speak to Charles, and Charles is dead.
Charles is dead, yeah. But I mean, I'm guessing this is to set up Deadpool 3, first of all.
Yeah. So that'd be interesting to see how it ties in. Everything is tying into the bloody multiverse thing at the minute. Yeah. Not into Kang, interestingly, because he might be binned, but into the multiverse stuff.
Yeah, I'm so sick of multiverse.
Oh, I know.
But I like the Fox X-Men movies. I mean, some of them suck, but I am generally an X-Men movie fan. So
you are an X-head.
Is that what they call them?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like them.
Yeah, one thing I would like to talk about before we move on. Iman Vellani.
Yeah.
She just talks way too fast.
See,
just for the majority of the film.
When I was watching this, I was like, I think she's great. I think Joshua will find her annoying. Did you watch Miss Marvel?
She's less annoying than Miss Marvel. I could not stand Miss Marvel. I just couldn't do it. I think she's just cringe. She speaks too fast. I feel like an old man. I just can't understand what she's saying half the time.
I kind of feel like that's the point, though, that she's an annoying teenager.
But you can be annoying without being annoying. You can be endearing and be annoying.
I think she kind of is, though. I've seen people in comment and like reviews saying like it's nice to see sort of cringe teenagers being allowed to be cringe. Like it's the same as like Turning Red. Like she writes like fan fiction, doesn't she? Or she does some... Yeah,
but I really like Turning Red, and I really like the character from Turning Red, because it is a teenage story, but she does that same... She screams in exactly the same way like 4 times. It's the exact same scream.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
No, but I thought that was good. I liked the bit when like Goose first does it, and I think
exact same scream.
I like seeing a someone who has superpowers, but they doesn't mean they're just like the most brave person you've ever seen. She's still like shit scared of it, and I like that. It feels more realistic.
What did you give the Marvels?
I gave it 3.5 stars because I think you need to. I don't know, because it's hard. I find giving things a numerical rating quite difficult because you kind of have to treat it as what it is, like what it's trying to be, and like this is meant to be just a popcorn movie. You go and you have fun in the cinema with mates, and I feel like for that it gave me a good evening, and I can't really fault it for that. But it's not trying to do what like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, for instance. The Guardians films are like films. They have like
exactly
themes.
Right.
They have, especially the third one, is trying to do commentary. It's trying to do all these deep things. The Marvels was never trying to do that. It was just meant to be a fun, light-hearted sort of sci-fi flick, and I think it succeeded with that. I liked it.
I completely agree. I gave it 3 stars. My benchmark is always 2.5. I will rewatch again. Anything above 2.5, if it's on, I will sit and watch it. So it wasn't offensive. It was fun. I liked the character moments on the ship. Like I could tell that they were building relationships. That's very nice.
Oh, I will say that I haven't really said. Monica Rambeau's fucking boring. Like, well, she's there
to exposit. She's there to explain what's going on.
Yeah,
which should have been what Nick Fury's
she was the worst character in WandaVision, because there's that awful bit in WandaVision where she's like just completely sympathetic towards Wanda, and it's like she's kidnapped and brainwashed like all of these people. Like, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't. If I was thinking sympathetically towards Wanda in that situation, I would keep that in my head, and it would not pass my lips. I would not tell. I wouldn't be sympathetic towards her verbally. Yeah, and then when she got superpowers in WandaVision, it was so out of nowhere.
Because she has to, because she does in the comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. Go and see The Marvels if you haven't seen it.
Go and see it. It's fun. They will not make a third one. Okay, and next up, we're going to be talking about an older film, specifically the greatest film of all time, Flash Gordon. Could you please give a synopsis, Joshua?
Oh, bloody hell. Picture this. American football player, Flash Gordon, is flying home from holiday, maybe somewhere.
He's on a plane for some reason.
With a real estate agent called Dale. But at the same time, there's some nefarious deeds happening far from the planet Earth by Ming the... What's his name? Ming the
Merciless.
Merciless, that's the one. And he's got an array of buttons that create many natural disasters on the planet, such as earthquakes and volcanoes and hurricanes.
And let's just forget hot hail.
Hot hail. And this hot hail starts falling down, hitting the plane. And the sky goes red. Flash has to jump in the driver's seat because he conveniently said a few seconds before that he's been taking flying lessons, and crashes the plane into the lap of Dr. something. Dr. Zarkov, who conveniently is building a rocket because he knows that all of these natural disasters aren't natural, but are in fact at the hands of Ming the Merciless. So he, at gunpoint, he forces Dale and Flash to get into the rocket, and that's the only time they have conflict about being kidnapped. I saw you gave this 5 stars.
Yes.
Wow.
And?
So this is directed by Mike Hodges, who did Get Carter with Michael Caine. This is his most well-known film. Most notably, it was produced by Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
He did Lynch's Dune, Hannibal, Serpico, Conan the Barbarian, among other things. And his name is kind of plastered all over this.
Yeah. Well, so I've seen like behind the scenes of this, and this came out same year as Empire Strikes Back, so 3 years after Star Wars. He wanted to sort of make his own Star Wars, and so he thought, well, Flash Gordon, popular IP, they did like the serials back in the 30s, the comics were big, and so he was like, let's do this, make a new Star Wars. And then every single person he hired was like, okay, but behind his back were like, Flash Gordon's really fucking silly though, isn't it? So let's just do a really silly film. And whenever like Dino De Laurentiis would like see the costumes, he'd be like, no, this is wrong, we can't do it like this. And then they'd be like, all right, yeah, we'll change it, whatever, yeah, we'll change it. And then he'd watch the rushes and be like, why are they acting like this? This isn't how it's supposed to be. And it's just basically everyone else involved, apart from him, is on exactly the same wavelength, that it's inherently silly, and so they have to just ham it up as much as they can to make the best result. And I think the tone, I think the acting, the design of the costume, the sets and everything, it all is so well linked. Everyone is on the same wavelength, I think. They're making the same film, and I just love the whole Flash Gordon aesthetic. I love it all. It's
great. As you said, from like the log line, it's just so silly.
Yeah.
An American football star goes into space and has to save the planet Earth from Ming the Merciless and his like ring of power
on the planet Mongo.
Yeah.
And like, his love interest, he only just meets her and then they're immediately in love.
Yeah, and she's jealous that he's looking at someone else.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm still here. Yeah, but you literally just met and have been kidnapped and thrown onto a rocket.
Yeah, and there's a princess whose only character is being sexy.
Yeah, that's my character as well in real life. The DOP was Gilbert Taylor, who did The Star Wars, so they poached him for that, and Doctor Strangelove. But maybe most famously, what lives on from the Flash Gordon film is Queen.
It's Queen. The music is so good.
Great.
It really does.
Really great.
I mean, the opening as well is like, that just sets you up for the character. Like, he is just great at everything. He's a perfect god of a man. And it's just talking about how, he's just a man with a man's courage. But like,
he's just an American man. He bleeds red, white, and blue.
He does. But that's why I sort of chose it to do with the Marvels, because Captain Marvel is a similar character where, you know, she comes from Earth and goes to space and is talented at absolutely everything. But I think Captain Marvel, the first one, not so much the second one, like, took her as a character so seriously and took the film so seriously. Whereas I think we're all on the same wavelength that that's a bloody uninteresting character. So you have to treat it as just the silliest you can possibly do.
It's great. I love how most of the English cast in this are like classically trained thespian actors. So you've got Sam J. Jones. I can't remember who he plays. I can't remember the character's name.
No.
But he's the lead. Melody Anderson playing Dale. There are our two American leads. And then you've got, is it Max von Sydow? Is that how you pronounce it?
I never know how to pronounce it, but yeah.
Seventh Seal, Exorcist, Shutter Island. He's just one of the best. And then you've got Timothy Dalton, Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
Like you said, hamming it up for
chewing
90 minutes.
Yeah. Brian Blessed especially, like, he looks like he's having the time of his life. And since then, I feel like of all the actors in the film, like, he's very much like, he's so proud of being in it. He talks about Flash Gordon more than anything else. Anytime, like, he shows up on TV, he walks out and people are like cheering, and then he goes, "Gordon's alive!" He loves it, and he does all the Flash, like the what is it, antibacterial spray adverts. While they'd got that fucking Queen parody in the background.
Who was I talking to? Someone was shocked that the Flash song wasn't made for the Flash wipes, and it was actually from the film.
Really? I only watched it for the first time because it was referenced in Ted. Because, like, you know, Ted,
in both Teds,
in both of them, yeah. Because Ted and, like, Mark Wahlberg are massive Flash Gordon fans, and they talk about a lot of Ming the Merciless, and you see, like, the costumes, and you see they're like a recreation of them, like, on the sled going through the sky. And I remember thinking, like, this, although they're, like, taking the piss, like, you know, it's a very silly sort of very, like, dated 80s sci-fi film. I also was like, I can tell Seth MacFarlane's a big fan of this, and it does look like a really fun film. And so I watched it with my family, and I loved it. I fell in love with Flash Gordon.
It's great. It planet hops. You get the feel that it's a very big universe.
I love the, like,
you go to Timothy Dalton's planet and see all of the traditions of his green Robin Hood men. Yeah. And then you go to Brian Blessed's Hawkmen, nothing to do with the DC Hawkmen world, and has to fight Timothy Dalton to the death. But he doesn't, because he is a true American, he doesn't kill Timothy Dalton. He extends his hand, and he is the one who unites all of these splintered realms that Ming has been coercing into war for years and years and years to rise up and fight the Empire, really.
I love the because I mean, in dialogue they talk about how the other worlds are like moons of the planet Mongo, but they're more like sort of floating planes, like but like in the sky, and the sky is like so stunning. I mean, I like I said, I love the visuals of this film, but I think one of my favourite motifs is the sky in the background. They did it with like paint in water. They filmed it and then
wow.
And I think it looks so stunning throughout, and I think that looks much better than if it was like, you know, in space and they go to actual planets. Just seeing like a big like a huge ethereal, like, castle floating in the sky, or seeing like this plane like a forest floating. I think it looks it feels almost like a dream. Like it's it's such
very
a
very fantasy
style.
than like science fiction in those aspects.
Definitely, the colours are just so good. I mean, mostly red, but they're all so rich and vibrant.
And the film, the writing for this, the script is so good that it's able to resolve any conflict in the following scene. Yeah. It's that efficient.
Yeah, it doesn't waste any time.
Flash and Dale have been kidnapped by Dr. Zarkov. That's resolved immediately.
Yeah,
they never talk about that
straight
again.
Away. He takes them away from their home, takes them to space, and they may never get back.
Zarkov gets brainwashed. He doesn't, because he's too strong.
He remembered Shakespeare.
They need to kill Ming. Well, he gets run down by a ship, and that's it. Yeah, he's done.
But I love how it's like tongue in cheek. Like, because I watched it with my family, and me and my dad love it. My mum and my sister hated it, and I don't think people do understand how deliberate it is. Like I love, like, you know, Dale immediately in love with him. I love when when Flash and Timothy Dalton are fighting, and she's like, "Flash, I love you, but we've only got 14 hours to save the Earth," and it's like, it's such ridiculous dialogue.
One of my favourite films of all time is Big Trouble in Little China, and I will die on that hill. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I don't see how. It's so good, and it's very similar to this. It knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's more focused. It's a more focused version of this. I think it's just as campy, and it's just as silly, and it's about this blue-blooded American getting drawn into a world that he's not a part of. It's like the whole joke of Big Trouble in Little China is that Kurt Russell is like a sidekick because he has no like magical powers. His only defining character trait is that he has fast reflexes, and he goes into these big fights and gets knocked out while everyone's doing kung fu. And it's very similar to this, that Flash Gordon, he's the main character, quote unquote, but he's not really. He's just like a very loose catalyst to get the ball rolling for everyone to overthrow this emperor.
But that's why, I mean, it's almost like a white savior film if it weren't for the fact that they're aliens. Like, it's they're just hopeless to defeat Ming until an American man says, like, no, but just do it. Like,
you can.
He doesn't get their forces any stronger. They don't ever train. They don't, like, it's just the fact that they just don't think they should, like, stand up to Ming, and then Flash goes like, nah, but do it, and then they do, and then they win. Like,
I'm pretty sure he asks Brian Blessed, like, why haven't you done it? And Brian Blessed says, well, he knows I want to do it, but his forces are just more like better armed than us. They're just superior. But then he just flies in and wins.
He flies in and wins, because I haven't seen the film in about 2 years, and I kind of thought, like, oh, it's going to be obviously like the Robin Hood men and the Hawkmen fighting side by side. The Robin Hood men are nowhere to be seen. It's just the Hawkmen.
It's just Timothy Dalton.
So it's like the whole film is, they keep saying, like, oh, we need to fight together, and that's how we'll do it. Like, we'll I can't remember is it team up? They say,
team up,
and they've never heard of it before.
Just team up,
and they don't really team up. Like, it's just the Hawkmen, and you see all these different like species in the opening bit.
I love the lizard men.
The lizard men. So you see them throughout. Yeah,
you know, when he's in jail and he's like, "Stop, lizard man," and just gets vaporized.
There's just because there's one in the cage with him too when he's getting loaded into the bog. I'm not quite sure why there's a lizard man in that cage.
Yeah, it's got like a face in its mouth.
It's got a face in its mouth. Yeah. It's really
so
strange.
weird. I feel like a lot of people will watch this if you're not big into sci-fi, if you're not big into appreciating this kind of film, then you're going to watch it and go, "This is shit."
Yeah, because when I was watching my family, like my sister was like constantly saying like, "This is terrible."
Yeah,
but then
my sister would be exactly the same.
But then she'd be laughing at like the silly stuff happening, and it's like, well, but that's the. I don't know. I think she just thought like, oh, the acting is just bad because they're bad actors. The writing's bad because they're bad writers. And it's like, no, they intentionally do it. They're like almost parodying, but they're
yeah. I mean, Timothy Dalton played a very similar kind of vibey part in The Rocketeer. He plays that kind of mustache twirling villain. Obviously he changes in this, but like we said, you've got some of the best classically trained actors you can find in this, and even with all this kind of campy vibe going on, Ming is still a presence. He's still kind of, he is taken very seriously,
definitely. And we see his power. Like, we see him kill Kingsley from Harry Potter at the start.
Yeah.
And like what we were saying with what were we saying? Oh, it was when we were talking about the killer. Like how we're told that he is a great killer, or whatever. We're told he's the best at what he does, and we never see it. With Ming, we absolutely do. Like, every interaction with Ming is him being evil. Now, he's cartoonishly evil. He has no motivation besides.
Doesn't keep his word.
No,
just kills
Yeah,
for
he
fun.
just kills because he's selfish and because he likes the power. He likes to bang beautiful women. He likes to be in
What a
control.
Chad.
Yeah, but I think that works. I think it's for what it is. He's the perfect villain.
According to IMDb trivia, George Lucas wanted to turn this into a film originally.
Yeah,
but couldn't get hold of the rights. So I can't remember what he made, but he ended up making.
he did
like
a
his
sci-fi film
own
after that.
sci-fi.
It wasn't
thing.
THX 738. He did something else, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think he did something after that. A little indie thing. But yeah, funny how the Star Wars. It's like the James Bond and Jason Bourne like cycle.
Yeah.
That Flash Gordon heavily inspired Star Wars, and then Star Wars came out, and then Star Wars heavily inspired this. Like that weird kind of Ouroboros of art. But George Lucas loves the old serials, doesn't he? Like Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all the things that he grew up on.
Well, I think because I've only seen the first like maybe 3 or 4 serials of the back in, was it 35? It's something like that when they did them. And I thought like, I want more Flash Gordon. Let's see if there's any good. And to be honest, it really doesn't hold up. Like as soon as he arrives on Mongo, like he's fighting a giant lizard, but it's clearly like a regular sized lizard that is like is double exposure. Is it double exposure or it's just in front of the camera? I think it's double exposure. But like, so he's fighting a giant lizard, but it's clearly just like someone's just put their like gecko on the table.
Yeah. That's quite scary though. I wouldn't want to fight a gecko.
I think it's a chameleon. It's something, but it's massive. And it's just like, immediately like, okay, well, this is going to be shit, isn't it? And I think, wasn't he like a polo player or something originally in the comics?
Oh,
he wasn't an American footballer.
That. That's unbelievable.
He wasn't an American footballer, but then they were like, well, that's not cool enough. And they're not wrong. I have also seen a documentary called Life After Flash. It's following Sam J. Jones and how when he was making this, he thought, well, I'm going to be like the next big Hollywood star. And so he was really like big-headed, and that's why he was fired during production and why all of his lines are dubbed over in post, because he was a bit shit because they didn't want to work with him anymore.
That's so interesting.
And Life After Flash is like him now. His whole life is basically, he's got a big family. He seems like a really nice guy, to be honest. And he just spends his whole time at like Comic Cons and like conventions. And it's just about like what it's like to be in one big. He was in other stuff, but like he's almost entirely known for doing this one big movie that has a big like cult following, and about how like what it's like to have your 15 minutes of fame basically.
Well, the cast was signed on for a multi-picture deal, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it's a shame they didn't do more. I would happily watch sequels. But that's what's so weird about like how it ends with like the end and then a question mark. Like they already knew during production they weren't doing another one. Because it was the mask guy, wasn't it? I thought he was very, very cool. He had a very cool design, but it's him grabbing the ring at the end. Yeah.
Very silly. I would have picked up that ring. Don't leave that lying around.
Yeah.
I'd have taken that to a pawn shop.
What more do you have to talk about?
Other than it's brilliant. I gave it 4 stars. Have you got any filmmaking lessons from the Marvels or from Flash Gordon? Anything that you want to take away and carry forward?
I mean, I think both of these are like their biggest strengths is like they're not trying to do too much. They're not trying to be art, as it were. They're just about what's entertaining. And I think a lot of like student films, like amateur short films, are so like, oh, let's just do art, and they're always shit and boring. Like when at uni, I remember like there'd always be a bunch of them that are just like weird intercut surrealist stuff.
Yeah, someone screaming,
maybe taking pills, and then
overlaying,
and then they see a character that no one else can see, and all of that stuff. And it's like, this is absolutely bloody unwatchable. Like, I think movies should first of all be entertaining and then art on top of that. And I think these films don't really have the art so much, but they are so much fun, and I think that is the bare minimum of a movie.
Completely agree.
I think they nail it.
The biggest sin for a film is for it to be boring.
Yeah,
either make it very good or very bad.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what a lot of sort of like films people start off. I think the biggest thing is they're boring. They're normally too long and too slow. and they're normally boring. And so I think, learn to entertain people first, because that is what it's all about. That's why you watch movies. And then you can try and layer it on with more. You turn the Marvels into Guardians of the Galaxy. But
yeah, and if you are able to make an entertaining film, you can then build being woke on top of that.
Oh yeah,
don't
you can
start with being woke.
all that in. You can...
Curse double features.
I've got a few. So for the Marvels, I've got Glass, which is a superhero shared sequel that's a bit shit. Now, I wrote that before I watched the Marvels, and Marvel's actually quite good, whereas Glass is absolutely awful. But then my other one for that is the In-Betweeners movie, which is the lead character abruptly starts singing to the other character's shock and horror. And then for Flash Gordon, I've got the film that I actually double featured it with, which is The Princess Bride, which is a self-aware, light-hearted genre film from the 1980s that's fun for all the family, where the square-jawed blonde protagonist finds himself sinking into a bog in a forest while on a quest to save the love of his life from marrying the evil ruler of a kingdom.
That's oddly specific.
And genuinely, Princess Bride and Flash Gordon do make a good double feature. As someone who did that last night,
That'd be great. That'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah, they're tonally quite similar, and they're both really good fun. For family viewing, all generations can enjoy both films, I think. Do you have any, Joshua?
Yeah, I've only got one for each. My first one would be for the Marvels, pairing that with the Catwoman film with Halle Berry, because both feature female superheroes who are going about saving the day from typical female things. So Catwoman, she has to save the world from evil face cream, which is making people look old. And in the Marvels, they're saving the world from fashion, from the fashion faux pas of only wearing one bangle that could destroy the universe.
That's so funny, Joshua.
Thank you.
It's almost as if I heard you say that in the review section, which will probably get cut.
That's not true at all. And the second one, pairing with Flash Gordon with the Bond film You Only Live Twice, because both feature famously non-Asian actors playing vaguely Asian characters, such as Ming the Merciless and Sean Connery doing Asian face. So our short film this week, any lovely budding filmmakers out there with shorts you'd like us to talk about, please send them through. But this week we thought we'd look at maybe one of the wokest films around.
Well, it's got
Is it still funny?
I don't think it ever was, to be honest.
We're looking at 2011's Waiting, but spelt wait as in a heavy weight, but waiting contextually as in waiting in time. And that was written, directed, and scored by Dustin Bowser and the one and only Brie Larson, starring Brie Larson and Satya Barber. What did you think?
What? I just watched it, literally just. I don't understand it. I don't know what it means. He just took her leg at the end. I thought he was just like grabbing it, and then he just pulled her leg off, and then she hopped away.
So Matt, I think this is maybe where we differ as maturity as a filmmaker, because the whole film I think was a metaphor.
It was a metaphor?
So he didn't really take his leg. It was a metaphor for something else. Yeah. And that's just something you get.
You're pulling my leg.
As you get literally in the film that happens.
Don't yank it off too hard.
It's presented itself as a one-er. There are a lot of
it clearly wasn't,
whip pans, where cuts have happened. But yeah, it's Brie Larson in a very odd conversation with what seems to be her partner, packing up loads of random items, while her partner's trying to convince her to stay. But it's very fast.
They get weird and weird, because at first I was like, wait, did she just put a mug in her bag, and then she puts a birthday cake in her bag with the candles all lit, and then she's like putting lamps in and all sorts, a clock.
I read into it as she's very clearly worried about settling down and committing to the boyfriend, but that line at the end where the boyfriend says, like, where are you going, because I want to go there as well, but she's not about that life.
No, she's not.
She's independent, and she goes off on her own. She felt like she was being weighted down. Weighed down. She was waiting.
She was weighed down by all of him and his baggage.
Yes. So she took all of her stuff and she left. Some of the lighting choices I thought were very, very interesting. I know you said it was very dark.
It was
I thought
very
the use
dark.
of a cake was very funny.
The cake, that was
holding
good.
a
They used
lamp
cake like a lamp.
was funny.
Yeah, that's good.
But I read this. A lot of the vibes of this are very similar to her directorial debut Unicorn Store from 2017.
I heard that was all right.
I haven't seen it. But if it's like this, I bet it's very interesting.
I heard it's all right.
It was 4 minutes, but it felt like 30 seconds. It was very quick. Yeah, it's one of those films where you almost have to like squint at it in terms of the film as a whole, the dialogue as a whole, what you're seeing. You've got to take a step back and kind of let it wash over you, unfocused on anything. And then I think that's how you take away from it. Because as you said, if you focus on a line or you focus on what she's doing, rather than as a whole piece,
it's probably actually really well thought out. I bet there's like everything has a meaning. Every single item.
Yeah.
Every line has like a proper meaning. But
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the end of our insightful look at The Waiting. Yeah, and now on to our messages from last week.
Oh boy.
I got a message from Joshua Clark.
Oh wow.
One of our filmmaker
so did
friends.
I actually.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
He said he really enjoyed it, which is lovely. And I did just get a live message from big old Omar, who said my 4-star rating of Flash Gordon is an attack on his love of the film.
Yeah.
So I did reply, and I've said that I've bumped it up to 4.5 stars because I was hangry while rating that one, and I completely respect it. Any public messages though? We did get a couple of comments from Craig Dixon, long time listener, long time commenter. He said on our episode 4, The Killer and Less Samurai review, these days you'll get arrested and thrown in jail just for murdering someone. Woke nonsense.
That's true. It's true.
See, I knew the woke joke was still funny. And that's the week. Episode 5, would you believe it? 5 whole weeks we've been doing this for.
It was, and I think personally these were my favourite 2 films we've done as a pairing.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you very much, Matthew Vivian, for being here.
It's okay. That's what I'm paid for.
Wait, you're paid for this?
Oh yeah.
I'm not. That's sad.
Should we do a next time trailer?
Yeah, we should. We're doing the new Hunger Games, a ballad of, what is it, Ice and Fire? What is it?
Yeah, Song of Ice and Fire.
Songbirds and Snakes or something.
Yeah, I think the Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds sounds much better than the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But either way, it's an insanely long name for a film. But I'm looking forward to it because I love Hunger Games.
And we can't really do an impression of our paired film because neither of us speak the language, but that's probably enough of a hint.
No, I think you should give it a go.
I'm
Just try.
not going to.
Try it.
No, I'll do the one afterwards.
Okay. So are you going to say what it is?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, it's the Hunger Games, but Japanese. Work that out for yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you on the next one also.
Bye.